Damn, we don't have any options here. Maybe we go out the door and try another approach, Hunk said, and the agent shook his head. Or we could take them out at the same time. It may take us a long time to find another way, the agent said, drawing Hunk's attention. What do you suggest? You could flank that group to the left, while I deal with that group ahead. Both groups can spot us no matter what we attack, so I suggest we attack them both, the agent explained, and Hunk was silent for a few moments. That's risky. If something goes wrong, we'll be wasting shit, he said. I can do that, sir. Everything is risky here. I won't let you down. I just need to get used to this, don't I? The agent insisted. Agent, this is not like the targets you in training. I know, sir, but I trained exactly for situations like this, and I need to prove that training is taking effect. Otherwise, what's the point of it? The agent insisted again, and this time Hunk was silent, seeming to consider the idea. Yes, you're right about that. He stepped closer. Okay, we'll do it your way, but if things go wrong, don't hesitate to back out. This will mean all more pointless if you die, the Reaper said, soon moving towards the group to the left and getting into position. The agent waited patiently. To his surprise, he wasn't nervous. He wasn't anxious. He was calm. Hunk got into position and waited for the agent to move. His brown eyes watched as the agent began to approach the group. One thing he had noticed was the agent was fast. He was silent and much more agile than he had demonstrated in training. He watched, almost hypnotized, as the agent approached that guard without noticing, without anyone listening to his fast steps. And it was almost as if mental agreement. They had both moved at the same time. Hunk stood up, raised his rifle, and fired at the first guard. The bullet passed through the skull, alerting the others nearby. However, none of them were quick enough to raise their weapons, or even run to turn to their attacker, and soon they were all dead. The ancient did the same. With his rifle he fired, and the first guard kept firing, each shot hitting his target, and it wasn't long before the bodies were on the ground. Temporarily leaving its cover, he looked at the bodies, making sure none of them were raising from the ground. Quick and quiet, officer. Good work. Now we just need to deal with the snipers before we take out the rest of the soldiers down here, Hunk said after approaching, and the target and the agent nodded. He began to move towards the kitchen and the wall of the inn, and Hunk pointed upward. We can move through the ceiling and enter through the window of one of the rooms. I'll take the stairs while you wait down here. Keep an eye on the guards in the front of the east exit. When I have eliminated all snipers and eliminate them, we'll focus on the rest and proceed underground. The agent nodded in confirmation, and the two took the small grappling hooks from their belts and hurled themselves onto the roof, climbing soon after, making sure it was firm enough. The two walked and crouched, but quickly accessed the roof and soon focused their eyes on the windows above. Hunk was the first one up, inspecting the room. The agent followed soon after, and the two moved. The Reaper, as he was in the lead, slowly opened the door and inspected the corridor. In the distance they could hear two voices. In each of the room, the guards had decided to stay there. They had heard it in another room ahead. Looking at Hunk, the agent nodded to his captain and headed for the next room while Hunk himself went to the room ahead to deal with the second guard. The agent sneaked up on the man in front of the large window and quickly grabbed him by the neck, pulling him back and stabbing him in the neck. And as soon as he was finished, he left the room and met Hunk at the corridor. The Reaper said nothing and just signaled for him to go up the stairs. The two agents went through the corridors of the inn, quietly taking out any terrorists they saw, checking in on the room to make sure none were unnoticed, until they reached the stairs leading to the rooftop terrace. Go down to the second floor and stay in room 108, and when I'm done, I will signal my flashlight for you to act, Hunk instructed, and the agent nodded, going down the same stairs as the Reaper went up. Once he had reached the second floor, he stopped descending for the rest of the steps, and he heard footsteps fast approaching, and a voice sounded angry. The terrorists said something in Russian, probably calling for two guards that they had killed earlier. The agent slowly picked up his knife and stood lurking still on the stairs, waiting for a terrorist to pass in front of him. He had looked away from the body on the floor, wiped out his blade off the terrorist's clothes before jumping to move to room 108 as instructed. He approached the window and observed the situation outside, taking the advantage of the lack of lighting inside the room. One of the back exits, the east door, there was a total of 6 men there. 2 of them were smoking a cigarette and about 3 or 4 meters to the left, and their backs turned to them. 3 were intentionally in front of the door talking to each other, and the last one was 1 or 2 meters to the right, trying to get the radio to work. None of them were paying any attention to the window, at least 5 or 6 meters from above their heads. The ancient waited patiently for the signal, his ears attentive for any noise outside of that room, his mind working on almost 7 days on how to eliminate those guards. The possibilities were so many, until the signal came and he acted, leaning on the window, and his head shot twice at the 2 men, smoking to his left, hitting each of one with a shot at the back of the head. And then he turned quickly and threw his knife into the chest, into one of the radio in his hands. And finally he shot all 3 of them below him, frightened them on the alert, but who would not react, much less foresee the attack that was coming from above, a place that was supposed to be guarded by snipers. The agent ran his eyes through the area a few times, making sure that no one else was there, and he soon turned and walked to the corridor, where he stood waiting for the Reaper. After a while, Hunk came down the stairs, and the ancient arched an eyebrow when he saw the sleeves of his tactical blouse stained in blood. 2 snipers in front of the gates, 9 guards in front of the entrance. "Follow me," Hunk said, and the 2 of them went up for one more floor, and walked to the end of the corridor, where they had a view of the 2 snipers. Each one was in charge of one, a quick and clean job. Once they had killed them, they went back down to the 2nd floor, and entered one of the rooms that they had faced at the surface entrance. "I'll stay up there and cover you. You go down to the ground floor and eliminate the ones I can't see," Hunk said. "I heard them talking. The underground is big but full of guards. After we clear up here, I'll cut the power system. The emergency lights will come on, but they'll be jammed. Flashing a lot and they'll take action. I'll take care of who's going up to get the fixed, and you take care of those and stay inside. Go inside the inn. They probably will come out and find the emergency exit. Maximum time, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Estimated time, 4 minutes. Maybe 4.5 minutes. We don't need more than that." The agent just nodded his head in confirmation and walked out of the room at a quick pace. He went down the stairs and reached the 1st floor, where he immediately shot a guard who was sitting on the couch, not far from where in the head. Before he could continue, he left the place and picked up his knife again. Still crouching, the agent moved around the place, his eyes attentive to even the slightest movement made both inside and outside of the building. After reaching the front entrance, he could hear at least 3 voices. There was no way he could go out that way. He would be seen. Within his mind, he went back the way he came, jumped through a window and into some tall bushes. He could see a large number of guards ahead, standing next to the military trucks and cargo cars. It didn't look like they would be there for long. This expanded the poor security, and moving in like a snake in the grass, the ancient tilts his body slightly to the side and catches the sight of 3 guards in the entrance of the door. Moving a few steps back, he leans his body through the window, shots up at the 2 lamplets, causing the reception to go dark. And the 3 guards turned around at the sign of broken glass. They became suspicious, and the 2 slowly made the front desk. One of them asked as soon as they were at the center of the reception area, and the ancient moved again and shot the guard in the head, who stood there in front of the door. By the time the terrorist's body touched the ground, it was already standing in front of the door with his rifle, pointed at the heads of the 2 guards ahead. 2 shots, 2 kills. He turned and made his way towards the nearest car. To the right, he could see some of the guards falling to the ground. He could hear the surprised voices of his companions, which it soon fell silent, but with each bullet Hunk shot, leaning his body against to the side, the ancient began to shoot the soldiers in front of him, now not worrying so much if the others had saw it. None of them would even get out alive anyway. It was only a matter of moments before the courtyard was decorated with fallen bodies and in pools of blood. Gunshots in the head. Every bullet was worth it. None of them was wasted. The ancient then quickly reloaded his rifle and moved towards the underground entrance inside the inn. His clip, he had not run out of bullets. He just didn't know how many men were underground, or how many creatures were hiding there, and he didn't want to risk running out of ammunition when it would matter the most. The agent reached a double door led underground, and his lead eyes focused on the stairs ahead. He descended it with silent steps, and soon he found himself facing a large area. This was basically a small casino with a bar to the right, and to the left was a double door, or even a larger area that probably led to the emergency exit. The agent recognized those two tables. However, the place was overturned and arranged by terrorists on the bar where the weapons were. But what was the most striking were the huge iron cages scattered around the place. Each cage contained a number of people, hostages. Next to them were pretty much at least 6 men. One of the men said in Russian, walking from side to side, evading signs of nervousness. Another one said, placing the strap of his rifle over his shoulder and walking towards the emergency exit. The moment he had stepped a few meters away, the lights went out, and the moment when the agent pulled the rifle on his back, picked up the rifle knife, and he advanced towards the nearest terrorist. Within the red emergency lights came on, the agent was already on the terrorist's back, and in one swift movement, he slit the man's throat. The hostages looked at him wide-eyed, confused, and especially terrified. He didn't see where the strange man came from. He only saw him when he took the terrorist's life. Things got even more frightening when the lights flashed again, and he was no longer there in front of them. Ahead, another body on the ground. They could not really understand. Their minds could not process what their eyes saw. The red lights didn't do much to illuminate this strange man. His dark clothes seemed to be a part of the dark, and his face was expressionless. They couldn't see if he had a face, and that's why they started screaming Ghost. It felt like a second nature to the agent. He was moving, and he didn't even felt it. His mind would focus on one target. He would eliminate the target, and then move on to the next one, without even giving much time for doubt. He felt light. He felt agile and fast. Quick, that's how he eliminated them. However, his little spree seemed to be interrupted when the lights came on again. The agent quickly took cover as he saw the terrorists screaming at the sight of dead bodies. Shit, something must have happened up there. One of them shouted as he saw the floor of the place being decorated with bodies of those that were previously there. Chaos began to emerge, and quite clearly that the certain desperation in their voices. One of them were asked the hostages, pointing the rifle towards them, in despair of those poor people. One of the women on the cages answered, and then the agent clearly understood what she had said. She had called him a ghost, someone who appeared suddenly, and as quickly as he appeared, disappeared. One of the companions asked in Russian, but before he could get an answer, the lights went out again. When the emergency lights went up, the agent already had a knife stuck into the neck of the man who had pointed the gun at the hostages. The woman screamed again, terrified to see the guard's body fall to the ground, and as a coincidence, alerting the others of the agent's presence. It didn't matter, he was faster than they were, all of them. Picking up his pistol with great skill, he shoots the guard farthest away from them, and then punches the second closest in the face, pulls him towards using the terrorist's body as a shield, and from the shots that followed. Resting his arm over the man's shoulder, he shoots and kills the other 2 guards, and as soon as he did, he threw the terrorist's body to the side. At the same time, he threw himself cover. From his vest pocket, he took out a flash grenade and threw it forward, lightly clutching the pistol moments later. The grenade exploded as he stood up, hitting the first guard he saw with a clear shot in the head, and so it went. Each shell on the ground meant an enemy was eliminated, and when the bullets ran out, so did the enemies. The lights came on again, and the place became chaotic. The hostages prayed and cried. Some of them hugged their own trembling bodies, while others just stared at the agent with terror in their eyes. The agent, for his part, tried not to look at them. He admitted that the small part of him was in pain, that the way they looked at him, like an enemy, he would not harm any of them there. Knew he had changed, but it was necessary. However, the other part was glad that they were no longer in the hand of those terrorists, even though now they feared him. Without staying there any longer, the agent searched for the rest of the place. He made sure that there were no other terrorists hiding there, and after he finished scouring the place, he focused his blue eyes on the door next to him. The sign next to it indicated that it was the wine cellar. With his pistol raised, the agent slowly opens the door, and as soon as he did, he could not help but be somewhat shocked to see what was inside. Several glass tanks lined up next to each other. Inside deformed bodies, people surrounded by a reddish liquid. He walked slowly through the small corridor of the cellar, observing the bodies, men, women, and children. There are even some bodies that seem to be merged with others, forming of a deformed creature, tall with two aligned arms, and a small one that seemed to be in the chest. The skin of all the bodies was rubbery and gray, and in front of him was a small area that appeared to be the laboratory. The radio on his shoulder squeaked, and as soon as he heard Hunk's voice, "Agent, I handle things up there. More of them showed up than I thought. How are things going well there?" Hunk asked, and the agent, to his turn, was silent for a few moments, looking around the place. "Agent?" "Sir," he began, "I found something," he said, walking over to a table in front of him, running his eyes over some papers. Something caught his attention, and soon he had read something about the virus progenitor. Well, it was what he could understand. It was written in Russian. Footsteps quickly and quietly approached behind him, and he didn't have time to turn around to know it was his captain. "I won't say I'm not this place existed," Hunk said, approached the agent, and handed him the paper bag he was reading. The Reaper ran his eyes through the words, and an irritated sigh escaped from his lips to be read. The agent, in turn, scoured the place more than once, and soon his eyes focused on some vials inside the icy compartment. It didn't take a genius to know how they were samples of that virus. The agent opened the freezer compartment and picked up just one sample to take to Walter to analyze, and after that he had turned to Hunk, who had kept the papers on the chart, and took it as if it's his arm. "Okay, if you took everything we needed, let's arm with some C4 and get out of here," Hunk said, and the agent just nodded in confirmation. In total, they set up 4 C4s, and as they wanted to make sure that nothing there would survive, if those things weren't alive at all. They soon left that place and moved towards the civilians, still scared. When the agent approached the group, people were startled and muttered, "Phantasma." Hunk stared, slightly curious when those people started muttering that. Soon his eyes fell on the agent. "Ghost?" he asked. The agent just shrugged. "Ghost. Nice code name." All things considered, he would say that mission could have gone along worse, but it was undeniable that his training had paid off. Hunk realized that lad, so young and was born with it, and he already deserved the nickname that was bestowed upon him on his first mission. It fit him well.